purpose will be to create an easy Python integration with Supabase using Streamlit in Python. The technologies we're going to use for this are Supabase, which is an open source tool, and Streamlit to deploy the web application. This will all be done in Python. So we'll go over the app development now. What you'll see in the repo is an app.py and requirements.txt. We will want to set up a few functionalities in the app.py, including a sign-up option for Supabase, a login option so you can use the credentials you get during the sign-up to log into the application in Streamlit. Then we will also have a database integration, and we will also have a file upload for bucket upload and download features. And the requirements.txt, the big ones are going to be Streamlit and Supabase. In terms of the deployment stack, it's going to be pretty simple. With a lot of the other videos we do on this channel, it's going to be free, and it's going to be on GitHub, is going to be holding the code, and then Streamlit Cloud is going to be the thing that we're going to host the code in, and once again it is free. To deploy this application, I have it on a couple other videos, but essentially you're going to want to go to streamlit.io/cloud. You're going to want to authorize your GitHub, and then the third thing is to make a new app from an existing directory. So before we go any further, I just want to show how you can grab the credentials of Supabase. Essentially, you'll need to sign up for an account and create a project. You'll see here on my projects page that I have Streamlit Supabase. I'm going to click that, go over down to settings, and click on API. And here you'll see your project API keys. So that's going to be your secret key, and that's your public key. And then here's the URL that you're also going to want to grab for one of the environmental variables. All right, now let's start with the code review. And we'll need to start by getting the GitHub repo, and we'll do that by cloning locally into VS Code. So go over to the repo that's in the description of this video and go to the code button, look for HTTPS, and copy this git URL. Now we'll go over to VS Code and say git clone, and then paste that git location. What you'll see is now it's cloning that onto my machine. Can get rid of that. Open folder, and now we're going to want to open the folder that we just made, so Streamlit Supabase in VS Code. And now we'll be plopped into this appropriate directory for us to get started. Now that we have the code all set up, let's take a look at it. So first, we're going to import all our packages that we'll need. The second thing is we'll set up our Supabase URL and key, and then we'll create a client variable. The next is that I actually have a spot for Google Form integration. So I'm basically reading in a spreadsheet that is all the responses of the Google form that you'll see that I iframe later in the application. And after that, I make some functions. So this one is to show user info. The next one is to see if Docker is installed. And now it's for the show login sign up form. So this is the UI that we're going to be using. For login here, we're going to be using email and password and have a login button. What's going to happen is we're going to take those UI elements of email and password and pass them into the Supabase function for authentication. The second thing we're going to have is a sign up portion. So the sign up portion is going to be your email and password as well, and then a sign up button. So you'll need to sign up before you do the login, but that's the general flow. The next is an upload file. So basically what we want to do is take a local file that you have and put it into Supabase. We'll use this with a file uploader from Streamlit and basically write that to Streamlit storage, or Supabase storage, sorry. And after that, I have a session function that I make that basically stores every session that gets created in this application into Supabase. And then I have a login and sign up function with the actual Supabase functions that do the authentication to either sign up or sign in with password. After that, we're basically just going to want to make a main page, and with that we'll have the page configuration. So we'll just set up the title, and then we'll go through. I make a documentation, so there's going to be a expander that you can view the documentation if you're interested. The next is going to be the show user info or show the sign up forms or the login forms. After that, we'll have the file upload, and that's just going to be with our file upload function. And then I'm also going to expose the backend to Supabase to everyone so that everyone understands how the session is being handled. So every time a session in the Streamlit app gets created, a new row is going to be added to this table. And I'm just going to be showing that in the actual application with an expander. Next are a couple of things more related to UI. So this is just my personal GitHub. I always do this as an expander just to show people my background and skill set. The next one is going to be for Bitcoin donations, and it's just an iframe of a wallet that you can do a QR scan for. And then the last one's interesting because basically what we're going to do is read in that feedback from the Google Forms. And right below it, all we'll do is actually show the Google form. So you'll see here, I'm just iframing a Google form, and in one spot in your application, you can basically show a little survey and then also have the data of that survey come back pretty much instantaneously, as I'll show. Okay, now we'll want to deploy. So first, let's grab the URL to our application, go up to the new app on share.streamlit.io, use existing repo, then paste in your repository here. You'll probably need to change it to app.py, and then the advanced settings is the part that you'll want to have base URL, and you'll want to put both these environmental variables here, and obviously you'll want to fill out with the credentials that I showed you how to get before. But once you do that, you'll want to click save, and then deploy will be an option. I'm not going to deploy because I already have one up, and that's it. We can take a look at the app now. Alright, now that we have all the code set up and the deployment on Streamlit Cloud, let's take a look at what this app actually looks like now. So you'll see I have a Streamlit app. It's just a basic page. The first part is the README documentation, and this is basically just various things about how this was made, more from a developer side. So the other thing I want to mention is that there is session level tracking. So in the Streamlit app, like where we basically put in the ID and created at, so if I refresh, you'll see that it's at one row currently, and when it refreshes, it's basically making a new token, which therefore that session will get stored into Supabase. And just like that, now we have two rows in the Supabase backend, which basically means that we visited the site again. So every time I refresh, essentially it's going to create a record in the database just to keep track. Then we also have the login and the sign up. Basically just fill out these two forms. First you're going to want to sign up, and then you'll want to log in. The next part is going to be the file upload. So essentially you would browse a file, pick a file that you would want, and then upload to Supabase from there. Here I show the back end of just the IDs created at. So this is all the IDs of the Streamlit table. And now this is just basic UI elements of some projects that I'm working on. Here's a Bitcoin donation page that you can scan and donate Bitcoin, and along with a feedback module, which is pretty cool. Like we went through, this is just basically grabbing the Google Sheets data from this specific Google form. So whenever you fill out this survey, it will basically make a new entry into the database. So if I say this is useful, just say great, and we submit. If we reload, we'll see a new session appear in our Supabase backend. And the other part is if we go to the feedback again, there's the third row. If we go to the feedback again, you should be able to see 3 responses. This is just because basically every time it uploads, it will put a new row into a CSV on a Google Doc, and through that I can just query that and show you the results here. So really great way to basically gain feedback with pretty minimal code of iframing a Google form, along with actually showing the results of the form.